Welcome back to Absolute Comics. My name is Benny. That is Sal. And this is the show that we get together and do live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/Comicstorian and occasionally youtube.com/Comicstorian. I'm a guy known as the Comicstorian, a name I gave myself 8 years ago, and now everyone thinks I know everything about comics.
Yep.
And this guy over here is Sal. He runs a channel known as Comic Pop. If you love long-form discussions like podcasts like this one, check out his channel. They do a weekly one every week over there. And if you enjoy Absolute Comics, our weekly podcast that we have now been doing for, 2 years? 3 years?
Gotta
It was
be.
before
at least
COVID.
2. Yeah, so it's got to be at least 2. 3,
Yeah.
I guess. We started in
COVID's
2019.
become like a marker now. Like,
Yeah.
Were you doing this before COVID? Oh, you've been doing it longer.
Yeah, bring back the BC before COVID.
Yeah.
After.
But this show is brought to you by G Fuel. Use the code comics at checkout. Get yourself some Spider-Man Radioactive Lemonade. It's the new flavor I'm all about. Loving it. I mean, they made me all about it when they sent me a backpack, a Spider-Man hoodie, a Spider-Man, like they sent me all kinds of stuff. I was like,
Nice.
oh, good. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes G Fuel sends a flavor, and I'll tell them I don't like this one.
Yeah.
With the Spider-Man stuff, I was like, oh, good. I like this one. Okay, we're good.
All right, let's go full tilt. Yeah.
Let's go full tilt. We're going all in on the Spider-Man flavor.
Yeah. Genius.
But yes, use code comics at checkout. Get yourself an order. And today's episode is also brought to you by the Absolutely Marvel and DC channel, where Sal and I get together with a couple of friends to talk about all the TV show and movie news that pops up. Some of the news is getting a little lighter on the podcast because we moved it over there. It's not because we don't want to talk about it on the podcast. It's because we want to talk about it more.
Right. Nice.
All right. So today's topics are going to be a little light. It's the brand new year. So why don't we go through the topics, then we'll go through what we liked and disliked about 2021.
Love it.
Okay. So the first of the topics is DC Comics is developing a Legion of Superheroes TV show for HBO Max. The series will be an adult animated series with Brian Michael Bendis as a part of the creative team.
Yep.
According to Dan, he says they're going for adult because they're referring to adult themes to avoid the chance of people who will think this is just another kid's show. Look, I like the Legion of Superheroes. I kind of wish DC would stop trying to push them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but Bendis wanted to write about them.
But there's so few of us that care.
Yes.
Can we get another show?
I mean, there was a cartoon. You had like at least a season of that show. That happened.
But I don't know. Is there like that many Legion of Superhero fans out there that I forgot? Like I need to go to the meeting, the Legion meeting.
No, the fact is, I mean, like you may be a Legionnaire, but you have thousands of issues of comics. You've got the fact is DC is like, okay, no. Like I think that honestly, studios are just like, they're still reeling from Guardians of the Galaxy becoming a household name. And they're like, anything can be a household name. Like Peacekeeper could work. We could make Legion of Superheroes work. We could get this working. Like just throw it out there. And if it was, as long as it's like adult themed and kind of funny, we're in.
Yeah.
So they don't. I don't think there is a toxic.
I think Harley Quinn also kind of showed that. Like Harley Quinn was their way of being like, oh, then we should definitely say, if we're making an animated thing, say it's adult oriented, because that show was a success. I don't know. It's kind of like DC also likes to push the Justice Society, which I, as a DC fan, loves. But at the same time, I'm like, there's so finite and few of us that give a shit about a bunch of old men. Like,
I'm always impressed that they remember the JSA, much less represent them in anything outside of the comics. And even then, like the comics, they don't get much representation. And for the last 30 years, they haven't. Like to the point where I remember a DC Comics event where one of the casualties was, we'll just make one of the members of the JSA really young. We'll just pretend like they're young now, so that like we can try.
Well, doesn't Jay always end up younger, but just old enough over Barry that he can be a father figure?
Yeah, they always got to make Jay like just he's a DILF, but also it's got to be D.
But like him and Alan Scott, I always feel like depending on who's writing it, like now they're really old. Now they're just upper 40s. Like
Alan Scott is usually like just shy of being a peer of Hal.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Right?
They always do it so weird with the JSA. It's so funny.
Yeah, no, I know. Good luck to them for their Legion of Superhero show. I don't see it working out, but I hope it does because more of that means I don't know. Well, I don't really care, honestly. I'm like, good for them.
We're gonna watch it because it's our job, but I can tell you right now, that is not one of the shows that I would have been like, oh my God, Sal, I'm gonna watch Legion of Superheroes. I can't wait. This is gonna be amazing. No.
Are we gonna get Saturn Girl?
Finally, for me, I mean, like, we know that Johns loves the Legion. Like, we know that Johns loves the Legion, and we know that Bendis likes the Legion. And I guess and I don't know which one came first, the chicken or the egg, where like Bendis either pitched them a Legion show, or if they went, it'll be cheaper if we just hire Bendis to run the Legion show, because he's already a producer on the Naomi show, which he also created and made for a show. But yeah, I could see him. I could see one or the other.
He literally titled the graphic novel season 1 and 2.
No, dude clearly was gunning. I mean, like, yeah. That's why he works at DC. He worked at DC so he can get into the movies. He's making a show. It's close enough.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting the properties he wanted to make into a show. So
yeah, that's right.
I mean, more power to him. I'll give him that. I've seen more on that Naomi show, like more of this stuff, and I'm just like, I mean, I didn't really care about the comic. I don't know if I'm going to be into this show.
I did like the comic, the first season anyway. I really enjoyed of the comic book. The trailer, I was like, ooh.
I'm just not a fan of the way that he's kind of messing and playing with like the White Lanterns and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't have
like, he gave Batman it randomly, and then that vanished. And now he's like, and Naomi's kind of maybe really like,
dude. For me, it's funny because I know what you're referencing. You're referencing the Batman Universe graphic novel that he did for Walmart, and I love that book.
Oh, I do love this story.
It's all about, for me, it really is just like, Naomi. I'm like, oh, are they really respecting the White Lanterns? And in Batman Universe, I'm like, but this is really good, so I'm just gonna give it a pass.
I mean, as a fan of like the whole spectrum and the Green Lanterns and the whole core and the idea of all that space opera stuff, I don't like it when Bendis is just kind of like, continuity, whatever. Here's a ring.
Yeah, that's Bendis, man. I mean, like, listen, you get in line with the Marvel guys who are like, this guy, he doesn't care about anything. He read 3 stories and then just went for it, and it's like, yeah. And DC, you can get away with that at Marvel, because like Marvel, you could just like, there's always somebody who's willing to like bend over backwards to explain that stuff. At DC, it's like, either we addressed it or we didn't.
Can we just talk real quick about his decisions with Superman, since we're talking about Bendis so fast? Look, he was putting out pictures of all the Superman history he read.
Yeah.
For the record, looking back on his Superman run now, I feel like he read up to like the end of the 70s. It was like, I got everything I need.
That's
where we're going.
No, I mean, the fact is, the dude worked at Marvel for 20 years more, and like, so he missed a big chunk, but not the 20 years. He read probably up until before the death. Probably he probably stopped in the. I'll bet he read the John Byrne reboot. Like, I'll bet he read during Crisis, because he references it, because when he jumped on Superman, he launched it with Man of Steel and clearly insisted that they use the old Man of Steel logo on the book. So I'm guessing he read up until the 80s, like mid 80s. But at the same time, it's like, dude, no, you could tell from the moment he dropped into that book, he was like, okay, let's take everything that was made in the last 15, 20 years, just chuck that and catch up with where I was. Because that's what that's all the ideas I had.
For me, the moment I realized that is when he decided to make reference to the first car Superman lifted.
Yeah.
And like the big reveal was that car. And I remember looking at it like, am I supposed to know what this is?
Right? Like, who cares though? Yeah.
What is this? Why are you showing a crushed car? Like, what are you doing?
But at the same time, on my, I'm sure it's the same way with you. If they dropped Red Hood in your lap and you were able to write a Red Hood story, it would just be up until the point when you stopped reading Red Hood, if you ever stopped reading Red Hood. Whereas, like,
I have not, and I should have.
There you go. Right? Like, but like for me, like if they were like, hey, you're in charge of Spider-Man, and no, you don't have time to pitch anything, I'd be like, well, okay, obviously it's Peter and Mary Jane are married, and there's actually a new girlfriend. Oh, well, she died. Because I'm just going to start where I remember and where I care about this.
Spider-Man's going to pick up Mary Jane, and as he swings with a kick, he accidentally kicks the new girlfriend out the window.
Right. She dies, and he feels bad about it, and then they swing right through a courthouse, and they get remarried.
And then they swing right through the hospital, and she instantly has the baby.
Right. Let's slow your roll. The baby.
No Mayday. No Mayday.
I like Mayday over there.
We're thinking about doing it on Comicstorian, covering the entire MC2 line.
Yeah, that
Mayday
MC2.
Parker.
I would just stick with Spider-Girl. No one cares about the American Dream. Or
only
J2.
when they cross over with Spider-Girl. Like,
there you go. But even then, like Dark Devil, nobody wants you to talk about Dark Devil.
It's like we're doing Spider-Man 2099 right now, and it officially has done well enough that we're going to do the whole series.
Okay.
And like they're constantly referencing like Hulk and Thor, and I'm like, you know what's great? When you reference them in this book, we're never touching those.
No,
they're so bad.
I will tell you, the only one is worth its salt is Doom. If you do any other 2099, it's Doom. It's Doom and Spider-Man. That's it. Don't do X-Men.
Ghost Rider is good as an idea.
Ghost Rider came later, I think, so it was like they had enough time. Also, it's just a dope cover. But Punisher, trash. Hulk, garbage. X-Men, it's X-Men. You might get away with it just because it's X-Men.
I forgot that was a what? I forgot who was on that X-Men team.
Serpentina, Bloodhawk.
Is Wolverine still alive?
Wolverine is not alive. It's nobody. Sheehan, the leader of the X-Men.
Oh, I got the list here. I got the list. Desert Ghost, Skullfire, Bloodhawk, Mean Streak, Metalhead, Cerebra, Crystalline, Junk Pile, La Lunatica, and Serpentina and Sham.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Serpentina dies in issue 3.
Why wouldn't you be like, and we revived Wolverine?
There must have been a mandate from on high where they were like, no references to anything. Cool, because they were really pushing that 2099 thing. Like when it launched, they were this is it. They went so far as to say this is the future of Marvel. Like, this is in canon, the future of the Marvel universe.
But my favorite was it was all 90s future of Marvel. All edgy and cyber, and we got spikes on everybody.
And inconsistent. Like Spider-Man, you could tell Peter David's like, I like cyberpunk, and I want to do this kind of like gritty corporate espionage nonsense, like about like the haves and the have-nots. And everybody else went, nah, I do whatever I want. Like, look at Ravage. Like Ravage is about environmentalism, I think. Whatever. But yeah, Doom.
It was such a great idea, and it's funny because I know people are going to be like, well, why wouldn't they use like X-23 or DAC? And
they weren't invented yet.
I was like, the 2099 line is before all that. Like all of that.
I think Daken was invented like at least 10 years after the last book of 2099 came out. Like, trust me, that stuff came way later. Like, everything you love was way after 2099. The only thing you like about 2099 is Spider-Man 2099's costume.
Yep. Punisher's terrible. Hulk's terrible. Hulk made it 10. You can tell which ones were popular by how long they went. Punisher went 34 issues. Hulk only made it 10. Ghost Rider made it 25, and you're right, he came 2 years later.
Yeah.
So they probably had like an idea down. Yeah.
Ghost Rider doesn't show up until his book. So like,
I forget, he's not a spirit of vengeance, right? He's like a robot.
Yeah, he's a robot. He's a cyborg robot thing. Yeah. All. Yeah. But no, those Doom, Spider-Man, maybe X-Men, just because it's X-Men. I would test the waters with X-Men because there's so many friggin' characters and they're all so interchangeable, and it has nothing like Apocalypse. You'd think like, oh yeah, right, Days of Future Past, Age of Apocalypse, all these futures, no Apocalypse, no nothing.
Right.
It's ridiculous. So yeah.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I got thrown off for a second there. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll try some just random. You know what also was brought up by Andy that we should do? Because Andy's the one writing the 2099 stuff. He's also going to put together our Daredevil stuff. Andy's putting together a lot of the other 90s stuff. Yeah. We were talking about doing the entirety of the Ultimate Universe. We thought that'd be fun.
Yeah,
to do like just the whole chain of, because everything's clickbait. Blob eats wasp.
Yeah. In the worst event of all time.
Maybe I'll make him do those 2099 randos, but he thought it'd be a great idea to do all the amalgam books.
Oh man,
they're all 2 issues.
They're only 2, and they don't tie in.
No,
like, they're 2 different issues for 2 different like stories. Yeah, the amalgam books are great.
Wasn't it written by like one was by the Marvel team and one was by the DC team for each of those, and that's why that was that way it was.
I think it was. Yeah, it was. It's crazy because like there's like look at Dark Claw as an example. Like Dark Claw, that one was, I think that was all Jim Balent, which like why? But that one's like in continuity, and then the other one's Dark Claw Adventures. So it's like the animated series of Batman and X-Men, but as a comic book. So it has nothing to do with the other Dark Claw. Genius, brilliant. The Spider-Boy book, it's Spider-Boy #1, but it's actually issue like 247, and it just refers to continuity that never existed and will never exist, and has like 1,000 characters show up, and it's baffling.
No,
it's a fun experiment, and it's like a joyful exploration.
I really only remember Dark Claw and Spider-Boy. Those are the only 2 that I really remember. I remember there being Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, because what are we gonna do with Batman? Because Logan is Batman.
There's a Legion of Superheroes one you can enjoy. There's Magneto and the Metal Men. There's one called Bracers and Bullets, which is Frank Castle and Wonder Woman. The Amazon one is a real cheat too, because Amazon is by John Byrne, who just wanted to do Wonder Woman again. So it's just Aurora Monroe lands on Themyscira as a child, and she is co-raised next to Diana on the island. It's not like Wonder Woman and Storm are merged. It's Storm is like Diana's stepsister, and she becomes Wonder Woman instead. That's it. I'm like, that's so lame.
Yeah,
but it looks cool.
No, we thought about doing that though. We thought about doing the other 2099s. We thought about doing MC2. We thought about doing Amalgam. We thought about doing the Ultimate Universe. Because I don't know. I like going through the history of comics.
Yeah,
because
fun.
They're great and they're terrible, and it's just fun to do all of it.
Yes, no, it is. And Amalgam is one of those things where it's like you'll never see it again.
It's like with the 2099. I'm loving that every line is like shock.
Shock is their curse word.
Yeah, when they were trying to make up curse words, you know.
Yeah, I hope they put it in the movie. I hope shock is in the movie.
Oh, it better be.
It better be. It's the only thing people know about a Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah.
That and he doesn't stick to walls. He has hooks.
Claws.
He has claws.
Yeah. All right, so moving on from that one, we've got Shang-Chi director has announced that he's helming the Shang-Chi sequel. We saw that coming a mile away.
Yep.
And he also signed on to make a Disney Plus series. He's expressed interest in trying to get Jackie Chan to be a part of the film.
Good luck.
I thought he quit acting. I thought he was done.
So too. Plus, he's like really old.
No, but he still looks the same.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. For me, it's like, okay,
yeah,
good luck.
He is now 67 years old, that he still looks the same.
Yeah, no, he looks. I mean, I'll bet it's been a couple of years since I've seen him in anything. So I feel like when he shows up, if he does, it'll be like, oh, he got old, and it's like I got old a couple of years ago.
He is going to be in a movie this year with John Cena.
Oh, there you go.
His last movie was 2017, Bleeding Steel. No, The Foreigner, which was a Chinese production.
I did see The Foreigner.
I heard about that. Jackie Chan's been doing a lot of stuff back at home in China. That's what he's been doing.
Yeah. No, I saw The Foreigner. That was good.
Yeah. So,
in any case, yeah, I good luck. I hope it works out. Hey, make a Daughters of the Dragon show.
Oh, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
No, right, because I'm not going to watch a Shang-Chi show. I'm good.
And the only other news that Dan could get, which is why we're going to be talking about 2021, which is also why I didn't cut us off at our fun discussion about all the weird universes, is James Gunn. Apparently, when James Gunn was making Guardians 2, he didn't know that Marvel didn't have ego. But since they were doing the Deadpool movie, Fox wanted Negasonic Teenage Warhead,
right?
So they traded.
Oh, that's fun.
Talk about the weirdest trade ever.
Yeah. Like, hey, we accidentally wrote Ego into our script and we don't own him. Oh, that's fantastic because we want Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Who?
That's what I mean. Like,
well, we'll just trade and not talk about it. Yeah. And what? Good.
I thought Negasonic was a mutant. So
she
why
is? But I'm sure she first appeared in a Marvel book or something. Like maybe she doesn't count, or I don't know.
The rules of like Deadpool, Spider-Man, and like Fox stuff, the way that all worked beforehand was so weird, because it really was like, they might not be a mutant, but if they were introduced in a mutant book, Fox owns them.
Yeah,
just like Sony had a lot of Spider-Man stuff because it was introduced there.
Right, like they had Rocket Racer and Silver Sable and Black Cat, and it's like, great.
What was the rules of Kingpin? Because I thought he was introduced in Spider-Man. How did they get him into Daredevil?
I think Kingpin was both. I think it was because like the Fox and Marvel both had rights to the Skrulls. Like they could both do Skrulls, and they could
I think it becomes like because I think it comes down to where were they introduced, and then where were they used more.
Yeah.
So like I think if they're used more here, it supersedes the introduction.
Right. I think it was more like there's some characters they just have co-authorship over. With respect to Kingpin, I remember the Spider-Man MTV animated series with Neil Patrick Harris as Spider-Man, which technically is supposed to take place in the Raimiverse, but doesn't. And in it, Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin appears from the Ben Affleck Daredevil show. So like Sony/Marvel, whoever developed that show, I assume it was Sony, had the rights to Kingpin and chose to use Fox's Kingpin. So I'm guessing that they were able to do two Kingpins. That just like, like I'm sure that
Sony could do the Into the Spider-Verse Kingpin long before Marvel even considered putting Vincent D'Onofrio into the MCU. So yeah, I imagine that there's just a couple of characters they can have like that they can share. Like I know that when they made the Dark Phoenix saga again, they were like, they can use Skrulls, and they were going to use Skrulls, or they did. I didn't see the movie, but they could use Skrulls just as Captain Marvel used Skrulls, and it's just as long as they're a little different, it's fine.
Yeah. What was the other one they did? They both the infamous Quicksilver situation.
Yeah, they could both have Wanda and they could both have Wanda and Quicksilver. It was just about who did it first, or whatever.
I still cannot believe the MCU murdered Quicksilver the way they did.
Spoilers
for the Age of Ultron.
Yeah, 7-year-old movie with a director they'll never invite back. But yeah, I'm not surprised. It's just he's such a complicated character, and honestly, like getting rid of Quicksilver really allowed Scarlet Witch to be her own character in the MCU.
That's true.
Because if you read the comics, like as I know you do, but I'm talking to the audience, Wanda and Pietro have like a really close relationship that is at times suffocating and at other times just frustrating. Like every time that Wanda's in any trouble, Pietro shows up and he's like, "What are you doing with my sister?" And it's like, dude, ease off. Getting rid of him actually allows her to be like, who is she? What is she all about? What's her story? So I'm glad they did that, because also it allowed things to be a little less confusing. Because Evan Peters just did it better.
Yeah. Well, I think because like Marvel seemingly wanted Wanda and Fox wanted Evan Peters Quicksilver, so I think that was the resolution to that whole thing.
I think that's exactly what it was. They might have worked it out because, like, if you recall, Wanda's not really in the MC or the Fox X-Men movies.
Isn't she a child? I think they show her as a child.
She's a much younger sister, and she's in like photos. So it's like they probably worked it out where they're like, we're gonna focus on Scarlet Witch, you can focus on Quicksilver, and we'll just not do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, that worked out great.
So that's all we really got for news, guys. But don't worry, Absolute Comics is back to its weekly schedule, unless something actually happens. Knock on wood. I got a wood desk; it'll work. But yeah, we wanted to take this moment to really talk about 2021. Now, sadly, I did not read a ton of comics in 2021.
Okay.
I did post up about it recently. Back in November, we received a bunch of copyright strikes from Warner Brothers, which is weird because both Sal and I work with DC Comics. Yeah. Sal is frozen up. Oh, there he is. Okay. And DC came in, they talked to Warner Brothers, they got them cleared up. But this did cause a bit of a, because the whole issue was confusion. It was a confusion. And that's one of the biggest fears as a YouTuber, that you could always lose everything over a mistake or confusion or just somebody getting pissy one day.
Totally.
Like, because YouTube just stays out of anything. They just stay out of it all. Like,
yep. They don't. Yeah.
Which made 2021 a little weird for me. I didn't read too many comics. We did less videos over there because I really wanted to focus on our new projects. Absolutely Marvel and DC, Dungeons & Nail, and the now closed down PlayStation and Steam Gamers and Comicstorian. But yeah. And so Absolute Comics is this podcast. You can always find it here on YouTube. You can just simply search Absolute Comics. You'll come up with the channel for it. It's also on Twitch all the time and on Spotify. Dan has fixed those for those who are wondering, because we did get that. There was a bit of an issue with that. Anyway, what I'm getting at is I did read some comics, but I did not read a ton in 2021 because of that. But one of the things I'm trying to do now, Sal, so I have a lot more to talk about. Every morning I want to spend an hour reading before I go do something.
I like it. Yeah.
I was spending an hour on app games, so now I'm going to read instead.
It's probably better for you anyway.
Yeah, no, and I want to do comics, I want to do books and everything like that. But I'm just saying, I just wanted people to know every morning, which is why I'm reading a lot more obscure things, because I'm trying to also read outside of Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
But I'm catching up on some books, and there's some choices that I have missed out on this year.
That's fair.
I just read Titans United issue 3 today.
Oh yeah.
Did you know they made a tie-in book to the Titans show that came out after the show?
No.
It's not technically a tie-in, but it's like, here's the Titans from the TV show.
Okay.
Including Red Hood, who's not a Titan.
No.
And he's not a good guy in the show either. So I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. No. It's really weird.
So, but anyway, 2021, what do you think was the biggest successes? Let's start there. Let's go with our favorites.
Okay. There are a couple of surprises. Like I know that here's a book that it's not quite the answer to your question, but it's a book that is not as much of a success as I fully expected it to be. It's a book where it's like, that should have been a huge bombastic blow, and it wasn't. And that's Marvel's Dark Ages.
Dude, I just caught up on that.
I'm
like, what is this?
Right.
Because seriously, this is good. It's a great idea.
Yep.
You've got evil versions of characters, and it makes sense as to why it's all happening. And I've not even heard of this series.
No, nobody's talking about it. It doesn't sell it sells fine. I talked to a couple of comic book retailers about this book because I was like, okay, what's the story with Dark Ages? Because nobody's talking about it. And he's like, they were both like, they're selling well enough, but like nobody cares. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's Tom Taylor at Marvel doing a deceased, adjacent concept of like, it's another universe. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. And what I love about this Darkhold idea, like I love it. Darkhold's great. You got to read it. What blows my mind about this though, is it's just like Ben Reilly's Spider-Man. No one's talking about Spider-Man Beyond. No one's talking about Darkhold. Dan and I did a topic on this like a month and a half ago. I feel like hype has been killed.
Right.
We need some, like when King in Black ended.
Yeah.
And when DC Metal ended.
Yeah.
There's been no hype in the world of comic books since COVID started. And I think part of that problem is they took 8 months off of making anything solid, and people just found other hobbies.
What's interesting about that is that, like, as I have done the research over the past 2 years, the comic book industry did better under COVID. Like,
yeah,
more readers came back to the hobby or were introduced to the hobby during the pandemic than in the previous 5 years. So more people are reading than ever before. But I think because new readers were brought in or lapsed readers were brought in, the usual way in which we like communicate through the comic book industry was changed. And so now, we're not like, the last big midnight release, and I know that like midnight releases are kind of dicey because of COVID over the last 2 years, but like the last midnight release that anybody gave a crap about was The Wedding. And if you recall, the Batman Wedding and the Batman Wedding, people got married in comic book stores, like things occurred. And then you read it and you're like, oh, they didn't get married. It was a fake out. Yeah. And it's like people went, this is you know what? Actually, this is all kind of stupid. Like, I think genuinely, like the event, hype of comic books petered out into, oh yeah, this is just a hobby. This is just a way that I get my stuff. Like this is just a way that I get my, my entertainment sometimes. But yeah, like, I don't know what the other thing I'm sure you found out is that, how people find out about comic books? Like how do you find out what's coming out next week?
I go to Comicsology. I look at the solicits.
You know how most people in our audiences find out? Because I have a show on Mondays where I literally say, here's what's coming out next week. I did a poll on this throughout a whole of our social medias where I'm like, how do you know what's coming out next week? And they're like, I watch your show. And I'm like, that's it? And they're like, I honestly don't know where to go to do that. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, then the comic book industry has failed in its ability to demonstrate to its own audience what to be excited about. And I mean, Dark Age is one of those books where it's like, you should be excited about this. And look, the book is fun. It's not amazing. I like it probably on par with Deceased, but I'm not as hyped about it because who cares? What's my reason to be hyped? Chip Zdarsky, one of the best writers of the year, did a out of continuity Justice League book. Bendis crapped the bed on Justice League. Hey, you could read a whole different alternate universe Justice League story called Last Ride. Nobody talked about it. Literally nobody talked about it. Nobody read the damn thing.
And it was good. I read it. It was good. I liked it.
It's good, but it also could have easily been in continuity. And they added an issue, and nobody noticed. Nobody skipped a beat. Superman, that Superman Authority book. Grant Morrison came back to Superman, and I saw a little bit of hype on Reddit. People being like, it's really good. And I'm like, yeah, when does it take place? And they're like, who cares? Like, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
But like, Batman Catwoman was a book that like had come out, I think, last year, is still just limping across the finish line. Any hype for that is just, the air has gone completely out of the room when it comes to that book. Hell, Donny Cates took over. Al Ewing ended Hulk.
That's what I wanted to bring up. Immortal Hulk ended, and it ended in a bombastic, amazing fashion.
And nobody talked about it.
No one talked about it.
All anybody talked about for 2 years was how amazing Immortal Hulk was. It ends, and it's like a fart.
Yeah.
And I don't mean in terms of storytelling, just nobody cared. And then Donny Cates is like, ladies and gentlemen, Hulk is a spaceship. And everyone, and like people went on Twitter and were like, this is dumb as hell. And Donny Cates like, oh yeah, like he had a friggin' meltdown on Twitter about like, I can't believe people think that my cool story is stupid. And I'll go back to Substack. And I'm like, dude, he looks like Deathlock.
Yeah.
It's Hulk.
I like Hulk. I like Donny Cates, but that's not on my list right now because simply put, it really just feels like the run from pre-Secret Wars where like Hulk versus Banner. That's literally the concept. Because now we have evil Banner, we have him controlling Hulk, and we have a good Banner.
Yeah.
So far, up to the current issues, I have yet to feel anything that I'm like, yes!
It's funny because I read those issues and I was like, this is actually keeping my I'm genuinely entertained by the book, and I'm like,
I want to read the next issue. He's got me hooked.
Yeah, it's like watching Transformers. I'm like, this is utter garbage, and I watched it all. Like that's kind of amazing. It's kind of remarkable to be able to do that. But yeah, there's a couple of books that came out where I'm like, here's a couple of books that are great. Like, but there's no hype. Like you were asking the question of like what book like was huge. None of them.
Yeah. Well, that's the same boat for me. For me, the last year, the books that I looked forward to reading was Nightwing by Tom Taylor,
which was great.
I did read that. I am apparently the only person in the world that enjoyed the Fear State Tinian run for Batman.
Yep. Yes, you must have been, because I sure didn't. I was like, I'm out.
Immortal Hulk I thought was amazing, and I'm counting King in Black because that that was mostly this year.
Right.
It kind of started in like December, but it was mostly 2021.
King in Black is a 2021 book, yeah.
Yeah. So I liked King in Black. But those are kind of my big ones. I had some other stuff I was reading. I read a lot of Chainsaw Man in the manga world.
Oh, right on.
That's a great story. I liked that one a lot.
Yep.
I also read Nottingham by Mad Cave. It's like
Okay.
a dark version of Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood kind of thing. It's fun. I like that. Out of all the stories, like everyone knows that that we're friends with Scott Snyder. I'm a fanboy of his work. But out of all the books he put out, what I really enjoy is just Noctera. The other ones are good. I'm reading them, but Noctera is amazing. That is the one you want to read. He made too many. I can't recommend. Go buy 9 Scott Snyder books. No, I can't do that. I can tell you to go get Noctera.
Right. Noctera is pretty okay. It's going to be a show or something. I liked Clear, and I liked Clear a lot. Great art and fun premise and very modern. Like it's very like today. So that's my Scott Snyder pick. But but there are other books that came out where it's like, yes, Nightwing, Bruno Redondo is just incredible. His art is phenomenal. That's a great book. Hey, you know what else came out this year or this past year? Joker.
Oh yeah. Which actually is good.
Yeah, it's a secret Jim Gordon book. Good. It's great. Yeah, that's a great book. Wonder Woman launched when she was in Valhalla and everything, and that was a book that was great until it wasn't anymore.
That was a book that had a great idea, and then they're like, let's abandon this fun idea of her journeying through all these other gods.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm just not going to read anymore because I'm a huge fan of like Norse mythology and Greek mythology, and this is fun. You're doing a fun thing. Now you're not. That's why I don't pick that one.
That's a lot of the DC books, honestly. Like genuinely, like for Joker, great book. My hype just eventually just dwindled and I stopped reading it. Wonder Woman, that's great until it wasn't anymore. Detective Comics, when it started with Tamaki and Dan Mora, loved it. Then after the third arc, which was just the same arc, I'm like, I gotta stop reading this book. I just couldn't do it anymore. Batman.
Actually,
Superman.
I've read all of Detective. I do want to say it's not on my favorites, but it's definitely something to keep reading.
Solid book.
It's one of the books that we've actually done. There's a few that we've done on the YouTube channel that you guys can't see for people watching this live.
Yeah.
We've got Batman the Animated Series, Wolverine from 2021, which where the hell did that go? That Wolverine book started strong and was like, woo!
As long as Kubert's drawing it, it's awesome. And then when he leaves, it's like, oh, okay.
But anyway, we got Wolverine, we got Batman the Animated Series, the season 2 and season 1. All of these are actually on the channel, Sal, because I read through them over this year and I put them up. They're only on Patreon. And the point is, if anything ever truly happens to me, those videos are coming out. So if you ever see, well, Detective Comics will probably come out with the Batman movie, but if you ever see the animated series, the Wolverine book, the Moon Knight books, all these, if you just start seeing them rapidly come out, something happened to Benny.
Yeah.
They're over on Patreon. You can watch them now, but like if you see them on YouTube, something happened to Benny because I needed to start putting out backups.
Yeah. Remember Batman the Detective, another Tom Taylor book that like nobody read?
It ended. Got like 3 issues in, and I just stopped reading. Like,
6 issues. 6 issues. And by the way, the art is spectacular. I loved it. But also, he ain't a detective in that book. Like, there's nothing really to detect. It's a fun Batman book. Also, entirely out of continuity. Hickman leaving the X-Men was another big blow to the comic book industry. That was like, dude. Like Substack just took a huge deuce on the comic book industry. And in terms of, I'm taking all of your creators and all of their public personas and I'm scooping them up and I'm giving them huge truckloads of money and they're just going to leave for a year or two. Goodbye.
Yeah. Okay. We haven't mentioned it. I haven't found a good place to talk about it. I need to.
Yeah.
I got into a constant argument with our Discord.
Oh God.
Because they were like, Hickman's never going to abandon us. I'm like, look, Substack, I'm irritated with them because they took a bunch of my favorite creators off my favorite books and they're all not doing anything.
Yeah.
And like Chip Zdarsky's like, Devil's Reign. And I was like, Hickman hasn't announced anything. And they're like, but Hickman said he's going to be back. Hickman said he's going to be back. And I'm like, I'm telling you right now, Hickman will be back when the Substack deal is done.
Yep.
And then when they announced that Marvel Webtoons thing, which for the record is the most broken app I've ever used. I cannot get it to load properly anywhere.
No, it's terrible.
But they made their own Webtoons and everyone's like, Hickman's coming back. He's coming back. I'm like, he came back to write a I guarantee you this Wolverine story that Hickman wrote was in like some drawer. And he was like, boom, there you go. Pay me.
No, that is clearly just like it might actually. Here's the thing: you have to produce if you're under an exclusivity contract or you work with one of these guys, particularly Marvel or DC, and you need to produce. You have usually a minimum of books you have to produce under the contract that you signed. I'll bet Wolverine's one of those books where it's like, hey, listen, if you would like to return. I mean, obviously Marvel will do anything to keep Hickman, but like because the sales on X-Men are fine and not astronomical, I can imagine Marvel going, what's your value anyway? Because Marvel is notorious for undervaluing very valuable creators. So I could see them being like, we don't even need you. So in order to retain Hickman for any plan in the future, and Lord knows what that might be, maybe Hickman will do Spider-Man, maybe he'll do an event with Miracle Man, nobody knows. But like Hickman is going to come back and maybe that Wolverine thing is like, well, if you drive some traffic over to that stupid app that nobody cares about, and when I say nobody, I mean nobody internally.
Yeah, I want to clarify because I called it Marvel's Webtoons. People are saying, "Oh, Webtoons works for you." No. I want to clarify for you guys. DC went to Webtoons, said we're going to make some DC Webtoons.
Yeah.
Marvel made a competitor for Marvel Comics. That's what they did, and that doesn't work right.
And that's the thing.
I can't get that to load.
DC's like, we spent too much money making DC Universe, and then we had to throw it away. We're not making another app. We'll just make a deal with Webtoons. And it was a good idea.
It's a great idea.
By the way, but if you miss Hickman, read Inferno. It's great. And it also it's paying off everything he wrote. Also, Duggan's X-Men is phenomenal. It's like on par. And it's mostly because the art is just superb. But like X-Men is the only other X-Men book outside of like Poor Hellions to read. But
I'm sticking with X-Men and Wolverine, and that's it.
That's fair.
Because I'm a Wolverine fan, so you can put him on anything and I'll read it. It's like Red Hood, Deadpool. I'll read them on anything. But like once Hickman left, I'm like, oh, so you don't even want to finish where you were going. I'm done.
Right?
I'm not.
You don't even care. Well, it's just you know what it was. I think he cared. I think it's just like it's just so much free money. I think there's a lot of free money in Substack, and I legitimately think, and I mean, I've gone to projects like this. Yeah.
I think X-Men got away from him. I think he had too many people who had great ideas, and they kept stretching out parts of the projects, letting them do things. And I think his original goal was kind of like, it just got out of control. I think he started to lose what he was trying to do with it. They kept stretching things out. And I think he was like, you know what? They've got great ideas. You guys take X-Men. I'm just going to go do this Webtoons competitor thing in Substack.
I think he could. Honestly, I feel like he was one of those, like that 3 Earths, whatever moons book he's doing for Substack. That's one of those things where he's like,
That was going to be the thing I was going to do after I left X-Men. But if I could like be paid for it now, I'll just make it now so I can leverage the deal I'm going to make with Apple TV, Hulu, like whatever company wants to pay me, because the bubble's going to burst on content creation on one of those apps anyway. So like might as well grab my bag now, and I'll come back to X-Men after a year or two, because again, too many cooks in the kitchen. I got everybody working at once. Spin your wheels for 2 years while I come back. Like, because he could.
And I said he's going to come back after the Substack deal.
Yeah.
There's only 2 people that have seemingly stuck through with the Substack deal. Well, no, 3, because Scott Snyder's doing what he intended, but he never was writing a book for it. He's doing classes over there.
He's doing classes that he would have done on his YouTube channel if he hadn't already. Like he's doing what he was going to do, but he also got a friggin' check.
Yeah.
But yeah,
James Tynion and Hickman are the only 2 that seem to be like, I'm doing my Substack thing.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
No. Batman Superman was a really good book under Jane Luen Yang. That was a fun series.
I didn't read that.
It was really cool. It was just, but you know what? Not big enough. It was just kind of like, it was just really cool. Trial of Magneto, huge failure.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
Yep.
Can we also talk about the death of Doctor Strange that has chosen to spoil its own ending?
I mean, that's Marvel to a T. That's just Marvel all over, baby.
How can you have a series called The Death of Doctor Strange and then go, hey, there's 3 issues left, but here's the new Doctor Strange?
Right.
What?
Yeah. I mean, that's like new Marvel golden boy Jed McKay, right? Like, because he's doing Moon Knight, which is a solid enough book.
I like that one.
He's doing the Kang book / Timeless. Like, he's all over the place, and he's building up his brand in a big bad way. And Death of Doctor Strange is just like, nobody cares about Doctor Strange, but we want a graphic novel that comes out when the movie comes out, so here it is.
Yeah.
Beta Ray Bill was a great book that nobody read.
Still never got around to. Yeah, I got no around.
5 issues. It's only 5 issues, and it's just Beta Ray Bill, Daniel Warren Johnson. If you didn't read it, ladies and gentlemen, go to your local comic book store and get it at a friggin' at a criminal discount.
Yeah,
because it was a great book and it was only 5 issues. And holy crap. Hey, did you stop reading Robin? Because that was a fun book that I just stopped. It was like another DC book where I'm like,
I've been staying on Robin. Robin's been good. And I'm actually excited that Joshua Williamson's taken over on regular Batman now.
Yeah.
Because Robin is ending in a fantastic fashion.
That's
fantastic. Great. It really is. Great. It paid off.
Similarly,
it had a weird decision to like go away from the story in the middle and then come back, which is where I think a lot of people fell off.
Sure.
But if you stick it out, it's really good. I like it.
Nice. But then there's other Williamson projects. People are like, nah. Deathstroke Incorporated, Justice League Incarnate. Didn't work so well.
Justice League Incarnate. I don't know what's going on with that one.
I just can't. But Dark Knights of Steel.
Ooh, but we can't count that one because that's technically a 2022 by the time it ends.
That's true. But it did launch this year.
How about we talk about Son of Kal-El?
Okay, Son of Kal-El, the Superman
that
book,
I find the Superman Son of Kal-El, the book that made headlines for outing John as gay.
Yep. Bye.
And I've read it and I find it honestly kind of boring.
Yes.
And it just feels to me like we're just doing this to grab headlines.
I don't know. I can't speak to the intention behind the decision to make John or to out John's sexual orientation, but I can say
Taylor has said his intention is there's just not enough bi people in comics, and why not have John be bi?
Right.
He just wants more representation for it, and I don't even argue against it. It's not like John had like a bunch of girlfriends, and this is just out of question. No,
it's not as weird as Tim Drake just suddenly being bisexual after like 20 years of having multiple girlfriends. And then just being like, I don't have any explanation for that. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's exactly how Tim Drake did it.
Yeah.
Like, I get the concept of him even going like, well, I don't know. I just kind of like spending time with this guy. And maybe that means something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And fine, I get where you're going. I get where you're going.
Story, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but there's like 30 years of you dating Stephanie, basically. Like,
who hasn't forgotten about Ariana Dzurgenko? It's that one is more egregious. For me, it's like, the problem for me with John is that like nothing that John has done in his history as a adult or teenager is as interesting, compelling, or good as when he was a child.
Yeah. And Super Sons was 10 times better. Even when he was solo trying to get into the Teen Titans, that was great.
Still better. And the problem is when you make him a character of representation, you can't roll it back. It's a bell that can't be unrung. So as a result, like when John was just being a second-rate Superman after Bendis aged him up, there was always the possibility of them using time travel shenanigans to undo it. There's always that that button that you could push that says the Marvel button when it was like, oh, Bendis left, make everything he made and just make it go away. Like that's what they would do, and like that's what you have to do when it comes to Bendis. But like he aged him up. Nobody likes it, but people are buying it anyway. Here we go. You could always undo that. But now that he is a character of representation, now that he means something to people who need it, who require representation, you can't just go, oh, he's 11 now. Like you can't you can't do that. You can't go back. It's like when they made Wally West Black, and it was like, well, you can't change that now. Because now now he's a character representation. Now he's a character for other people. People of color identify with Wallace. And they're like, well, okay, how about here's another one. The same one, but he's red hair and white. Like it doesn't.
That was the problem with that when everyone's like, bring back original Wally. Like the guys that can't. They made Wally the black kid over here.
Right.
You cannot go, we whitewashed him and he's got red hair, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you can't
originally
be like, no, but he wasn't before. Like it doesn't matter. Like, no, we just did that to try and get we just tried to get headlines. Like, no, we can't just say that.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? And it's like, well, now he's a character. And you know what? Like Wallace has actually managed to, just by the slow creeping of time, carved an existence for himself. Like
he is his own character now. Yeah, he is. And he's had entire like, I actually like him as a character. When he was just a backup character in the Flash book back in New 52.
Well, because DC didn't care about Wally, so they're like, oh, well, we'll just make him a person of color and make him like a representation. Right, but
they didn't even use him in the original.
But they didn't even do anything with him because they don't care about Wally.
Yeah, they were like, Wally/Wallace, he's got powers and he will show up once in a while to yell at Barry because he didn't teach him. Bye.
Right,
that's all he did.
Absolutely. But the optics on being like, okay, well that didn't work, so he's gonna like run through the Speed Force and be white again, regardless of intention, regardless of context, is gonna be, because you know what happened when they made Jonathan Kent Superman bisexual? The news was like, Superman is gay. So like, first of all, you completely misunderstood what his representation is. Secondly, he isn't Superman. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just they're gonna get it all wrong because they want you to click. And now, it used to be. I remember when Superman died. Like, I'm that old.
Yeah.
But like, Superman died, and like CNN had a thing about it. Like, it was in the New York Times. People talk about Superman being dead. And they had to interview like comic book people. They had to talk about why or who Doomsday was. And it was silly, but they had to do that. And like now, there's a million news sources that are all trying to get the same. I'm sorry. Let's say there's several trillion news sources, and they're all trying to get a couple billion eyeballs to look at their stuff. Not enough eyes to look at all the news sources out there. And when I say news, I put them in quotations. So they're all fighting to get your clicks, and they will lie, cheat, beg, borrow, and steal to get you to look at them. And so they will not. They will throw away. The first things they'll throw away are journalistic integrity, fact-checking, context, nuance. All that's going to go out the window for your click. And so, when you do something like, oh, I'm going to make Jonathan Kent Superboy bisexual, or I'm going to make Wallace West like black, like, if you try to roll it back or do anything that like undoes that, you're only opening yourself up to more criticism.
Yeah.
You're only creating a problem. And that's like, as I understand, I've read a couple of issues of the Tom Taylor Superman book, and it ain't for me. But
Superman I didn't even get to the reveal
for a while. No,
the first 3 issues was about John and how he can be a Superman for this generation.
Yes.
And he was like, all about like politics, and it was very much like, how does he get involved, and what does he want to do, and environmentalism.
What does that exactly mean when Superman Clark Kent is the man of tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know. Like to me, it just I wasn't interested up to that moment.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of like, meh, whatever.
Yeah. No, it's. I did read the out issue, and it's like it's good. It's Tom Taylor. He's an accomplished writer. He knows how to write a story. He knows how to like construct a narrative, but the direction the character's going in, not even the sexual orientation part, but just the direction of the character, is just so antithetical to what I want from the Jonathan Kent character that I'm not going to read it. Like, it's just, that's not for me. But also, you know, I hope but I do hope that because they're not going to not do that, because they're never going to roll him back his age, I hope that he is, you know, a beacon of representation and equality, and you know, that he means something to people, and that he does, you know, it gets more people of diverse backgrounds, or at the very least, to people who feel out other than into the comic book industry, because it only helps. It only gets more people to read books, and it only gets more nuance and intrigue into the comic book industry, which is great for everybody. So like, great. But like, you know, I read John when he was a kid, and they artificially like made him old, and that wasn't interesting to me. And then they were like, "Hey, also,
I've been interested since he became 16." I'm just kind of like,
that's the thing is, I haven't. This did not change it. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, now they'll never undo it." Like, that's all that it meant for me. Like, now they can't undo it. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting books. Did you read any of that Kang book, by the way?
No, not at all.
It's fine. You know,
you want to know about a stinker this year? I'll go with the stinker. Batman 89.
Batman 89 was one of those books where it's like everyone was hyped, and not like we just talked about the death of hype, but legitimately people were like, "Man, can't wait for this book." And then you read the first issue, went, "Oh no, I could wait."
I don't know what they're trying to do with it. What story they're trying to tell?
Well, it's a screenwriter from 45 years ago writing a Batman book. That's a sequel to a movie from freaking 45 years ago. You know, like, it's never going to work. I mean, the art's fine. You know, the designs are better than the art. Like, the art's good, but it works better as a design book than it does as a comic book.
Yeah.
Superman 78 was better, but I still stopped reading it.
Yeah. Flash has not found any
its footing. Yeah.
Like, once Joshua Williamson left Flash, they've just been like, it's just a lot of one-off Flash stories that don't really go anywhere. And now they've got Wally back, and they're not doing anything with it. There's an issue where he had to go get a job, one where he talked to Heatwave. Yeah. Then he went on that weird, terrible comic where they're like, "Whoa, turn the comic, reader! Blow on the candles, reader!" Like, what is going on? Who is writing
happening?
This?
Yeah. How do you like? Is it Al Ewing's Venom?
So far,
yeah,
it's just so wordy for a Venom book,
right?
Like, the first issue got me hooked. I'm like, I like this idea. Eddie died. He was the god of symbiotes. We're picking up where we left off. Mm-hmm. And now the last two issues have just been like, Dylan, I want to protect you. No, oh no, what's going on? It's just
it's just not doing great. Like,
it's not going anywhere. I feel like it's spinning its wheels, and we're on issue 3.
Well, and like, I didn't read Cates' Venom for the longest time. Like, I was just like, oh, Venom, whatever. But all I heard was how you gotta read Venom, and all I saw was Stegman's art, and I'm like, all right. And so I read it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, I appreciate what you're doing. Neat. Al Ewing's Venom, I haven't heard anything.
I hope it goes somewhere. Nothing. I hope he's building to something.
Yeah.
But right now, nothing's really happened. It's not going anywhere. And thank you so much for that $10 donation there, Seth in the Flamed, for more channels in 2021. We're working on the Silverton channel, and there's talks internally of us just doing a Lego building channel.
And really quick, King shout outs. Strange Adventures was Triumph. Masterclass in art and storytelling.
It just proves that he's so good at maxis. Don't give him 100 issues.
Do not give him 100 issues. Just give him 12 or 8, because Supergirl is also incredible.
And for the record, I'm a fan of his Batman run.
You do like,
but even I, as a fan, is like, we could probably wrap this up at like 50, 60. Like,
no. All it did was make me go, was I too harsh on the Snyder run?
I don't know how you don't like the Snyder run. Although
I liked it. I liked it, but I was also kind of critical of it because I also had nothing to compare it to outside of like stuff from 30 years ago. So I was like, like when it got silly or when it got ridiculous, when it was, when Mr. Bloom shows up, I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? Hey, here's another one that was like, this book should have been a huge sales juggernaut and instead just stopped. Ironically, non-stop Spider-Man.
Yeah, we talked about that before.
Yeah.
Because, like, why didn't that go anywhere?
Right?
And the story was good. I enjoyed the story. Yeah. It was really good.
Yeah, it was fun.
I don't know what happened to that one. Yeah,
I just couldn't get into it. I just dropped it, and it was easy to drop. It was one of those things where I don't miss it. I was just like, oh, all right, that book, and I didn't even think about buying it. I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah, and DC continued to make Black Label books despite like nobody knowing what that means anymore.
Isn't this Deep Target one of those?
Which one?
No,
Human Target.
No, Deep Target.
The
Green Arrow and Aquaman on a comic.
What?
Have you missed it? It's on issue 3.
What?
Look up Deep Target. Aquaman / Green Arrow Deep Target.
I've never heard of this.
I want to know who at DC was like Aquaman and Green Arrow. This will sell.
What? What a weird decision. What?
It's a 7-issue mini.
Holy crap. That's one issue less than Supergirl. I can't believe that.
I can't believe you haven't heard of it.
How could I have? I mean, it's Aquaman and Green Arrow on a book together for 7 issues.
For the record, doesn't this just add up to exactly what we were just saying about not promoting or hyping books?
Yeah. Well, that's DC all over, man. Like, what does Deep Target mean?
You know what I love? You know what I love? The amount of people in our chat that are like, I've never heard of Deep Target.
No. Launched in October. What is it over?
No, it's only in issue 3. Meaning it comes out. Like it's
Oh my god. 7 issues? That was a conservative decision. I might have given it 4.
I haven't read it yet. I'm waiting for it to finish, knowing that it's 7. God. We're just buying it, and I'm going to read it. When we're done, I'll be like, remember that Aquaman Green Arrow crossover you didn't know existed? Don't read it.
That's exactly what that is. That is how you sell that. Hey, remember that book that literally no one read? We just made as a bet?
Superior Price 98 says it's good. So we have someone reading it. We have one guy in this. I had him pulled up. It was Jeremy.
I got it right here.
He's the writer for Aquaman, basically.
Ronan Clickett. No, I'm sorry, that's the artist. Brandon Thomas.
Yeah, he's the writer for all the current Aquaman stuff. So
okay, all right, well that's cool. Yeah, he's done a lot. He did Future State Aquaman. I liked that book. That was good. He did a couple of Urban Legends, and
there we got another one. So there's a few people reading it.
all right, good for him.
We're gonna have to revisit this when it wraps up. We'll sit down and read it and just be like,
yeah. And despite DC, like so I really appreciate DC putting any fanfare behind any milestone properties, but Static launched. And nobody talked about it.
Yep.
And it's really good.
It is really good. And
it's really good.
But no one cares. That's the problem.
And and you know what's funny? Like, not funny. It's actually tragic. It's like Static is great. The original Static is superb, but the new Static is still a great book. And
it's up to issue 4 too.
It's up at issue 4.
I've read to issue 3, so I've only missed one issue.
Same. But it's a great book, and the right people need to get it, and and nobody knows it even is coming out, and it's just
we're going to be recovering it on Comicstorian. I will say that we started covering it when we were doing the lump issues.
Yeah,
and I was waiting for issue 3. I read it, and we're just looking for a spot to put it in. We're going to put 1 through 3 out, and then we'll do 3 through 6. But
Miguel reminded me also the Shang-Chi book, which is just a cheap cash grab to get people to read Shang-Chi while the movie came out, was also a great book.
Wasn't it like him versus the Marvel Universe? Basically,
that's how they launched it. It was just like it was called Shang-Chi, but then they put underneath it versus the Marvel Universe. So like you thought that's what the book was, but actually it's just like it's a secret. It's like Joker being a secret Jim Gordon book. Shang-Chi is a secret Shang-Chi book, and it's like here's this character and his lore, and you'll like it because Gene Luen Yang drew it or wrote it, so it's really well written, and you'll like the characters. And it's like, oh wow. Way to go. And they did it. And that's so smart because they were like, each issue, there'll be a character you are reading who's in it. But
all right. Well, I think we've had a good run here talking about last year. The problem is it's hard to pick any core things. I will acknowledge just Tevye because the book has been out for a while and you were nice enough to donate towards our
cause.
I forgot this was a thing.
I dropped off on it, but
it's a digital. That's why I don't see it.
It's the digital exclusive. It won our Comic Pop Audience 2021 Digital Series of the Year award, which was the time thing we just made up. But it was. I'm glad you were enjoying it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to cover
over.
That.
Yeah, so that's it.
Yeah. I remember hearing people saying that another Super Son story was coming out.
Yeah.
And that was all I ever heard. I didn't even know it came out yet.
Yeah. I think it's being printed too. So it's out there. But again, that's the thing though. Like, right? Like people were hyped for Super Sons and then they aged him up. But then like they kept trying to make Super Sons happen like over there. And it just
that's the problem with the digital lines. Like it's what I never understood. Once they decided like, okay, Injustice is doing well. Right. I don't know why it never got moved out of the digital. Same thing with Smallville. Smallville stayed at digital the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was doing amazing. But
I guess because it sold. I mean, like it, it makes sense to do it if it sells, but like, I don't know. They don't. Some of these folks, they've been in the industry 35 years and they still have no idea how to sell.
It's funny because Tevye did that donation, so I was going to acknowledge his at least the donation of $2. Thank you again, Tevye. But I was going to say that book's not out yet, Tevye, so we can't talk about it. I didn't know it came out and ended. When was the last one?
I don't know.
It ended. Wow, it ended in April 2021.
Oops. Almost a year ago. Yeah.
Did it start in 2021? Can we even count it as a 2021?
Yeah, it started in 2021. Yeah.
Maybe I've heard about another one coming out. Maybe that's what I heard about.
I can't believe they make another one. Like, because this is the third Super Sons post John Age Up series, I think, that they've made.
Yes. That's what I heard about. He's doing another one in 2022.
Okay.
And it's by Tomasi again.
Oh my God. Just write Spider-Man, Tomasi. What are you doing, man?
So, anyway. All right. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining us for today's Absolute Comics, a podcast that I do every Tuesday at twitch.tv/Comicstorian. And it's multicast over here at YouTube, youtube.com/Comicstorian. It does get unlisted over here. If you want to watch these episodes, this will be uploaded to our Patreons, patreon.com/Comicstorian, patreon.com/ComicPop. And then it'll be uploaded to the YouTube channel next week. That's when it'll come out. And it'll be put on Spotify this weekend sometime. So you'll be able to listen to it live. Or not live, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yes, this is our show that we get together every week to do. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. If you're new to the Twitch channel, right now, there's supposed to be a big snowstorm, and sadly, we will not have any Thursday shows. If all of it goes away and we have an unseasonably warm weather, we'll be here. But we'll see what happens. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We're going to take out the podcast portion, chat with you for a couple of minutes, answering some last-second questions, and then we're going to close the stream out.
Yeah.